of Education will now convene. Frank, would you mind doing the Pledge of Allegiance? And then a moment of silence.
Everyone please stand for the pledge. Afterward, we're going to have a moment of silence for all the people that, the horrible incident that occurred in Orlando, Florida. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Here.
Mr. Periola.
Here.
Mr. Grable.
Here.
Mrs. Kennedy. Present. Mrs. Adams. Present. Mr. Nucci.
Present.
Mrs. Donnelly is absent. Mrs. Manzi. Present. Mr. Middleman.
Present.
Mrs. Hutchinson. Present. Mr. Budnick.
Present.
And Mr. Woodson. Thank you. All right, any changes to the meeting? I don't see any. Okay, let's move over to the minutes of the Board of Education. Minutes of May 24, 2016 planning session. I need a motion and a second.
Motion.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're moving over to commendations, education spotlight.
Okay, I'd like to call to the podium our representative from the Nassau County Police Department to honor our student with the Joseph Oliveri Memorial Scholarship.
Can we call it the recipient?
Yes, sure.
Would it be great if I wore my glasses? Alexandra Vasquez. And if I could, along with the presentation, the Oliveri family, Joe's dad, children, you guys can come up. Hey, congratulations. If I could take 2 seconds.
How do you take 3 seconds?
3 seconds, yeah. I'm the only one in uniform. The Nassau Police Running Club started a memorial run 25 years ago when we lost the first officer in a long time. And the whole idea of this scholarship fund is to present it to a student, a worthy student, at the high school where the police officer that was killed attended. So it's my honor tonight on behalf of the police, Nassau Police Running Club, to present this scholarship check and award in the name of Officer Joseph Oliveri, that gave the ultimate sacrifice. And I'm so happy that his family came here tonight. Thank you.
There you go. Just get around. Congratulations. Cool. Hey, bud. I'm going to very nice. Yeah. It's cool. Come on. There you go. There we go. Ready? 1, 2. Again. It's good. Thank you all.
Again, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
You got a card? Send it. Hang on. This is, there it is, right? Okay, thank you.
We usually don't have such a big stage for our presentation, so I'm going to come down to that. Our honorees do not have to come all the way up to me. So I'm going to ask Mrs. Manzo and Mr. Keene to come on down because we had some poetry contest winners. So I'm going to ask them to explain that to you and talk about their students a little bit.
Good evening. Mr. Keene and I are proud.
Is that on?
You think so? There we go.
Okay.
Yep. Mr. Keene and I are very proud to announce this year's Walt Whitman Poetry Contest winners. Every year we participate. We've been lucky enough to place every year. And this year we had 4 individual winners, and both of our class anthologies won for the 3rd and 4th grade categories as well. And we do have some anthologies for you to keep and look at so you can see some of the student work. So if all of our Sequest winners who are here tonight, whether it's for the anthology or the individual, if you could please come up. However, our individual winners are Ava Catania, Kieran Honus, he's not here, so Alex Lilly, and Cadence Brown. And 3 of our 4 winners are prepared to read their poetry.
A child went forth, the young stressed girl who felt invisible, trapped. At the age of not even 2, she saw a long wooden object that made marks on paper. As she grew, the marks became real art. Before she could realize who she really was, she was stuck doing flips and splits and launched in the air. But when the moonlight came out, the wooden object came out. But when the moonlight came in, the long wooden object came out. The art started again. The next day, when she played, a jump made the fun run into the hospital. The big trip was planned, but no fun was lost for her. She took the long wooden object and drew her dream. The drawing on the paper went everywhere with her. Many years passed until she took a step in the path of life. She took a needle and some thread and sewed a hole in her clothes. Later, the hole was gone. She felt like a crack, and she felt like she cracked out of a shell. The drawing of her dream still hung on the wall. Then finally her dream was coming to life. She finally broke out of her shell. No more feeling scared, stressed, or invisible.
Life. There once was a child, and everything he saw he absorbed. He loved to play outside, and one day he saw a squirrel and became the squirrel. He climbed a tree, and later he saw a deer run and then ran as fast as a deer. All of that became a part of him. The young blue jays chirped like a bell. The boy rang a bell to respond, and when he saw the frogs jump, he jumped up and down. And all of that became a part of him. The big berry bushes sprouting with vibrant berries, and the boy picking one of every single vibrant berry there. and the apples fresh blooming on a tree, and all that became part of him.
The forest awaits her. The beautiful child wakes up. She puts on her most favorite outfit. She stops and smells her mother's cooking. The hissing of the bacon was music to her ear. She gobbles down her pancake. She chugs her freshly squeezed orange juice and ran outside. The forest awaits her. The birds wait to sing with her. The animals await her to tell them stories. This will forever and always be a part of her. She dances and twirls around the green trees. She skips around the delightful blue waters of the river. The blossoms felt soft and gentle. They gave off a relaxing smell. She sat with the animals. She told them stories. She sang with the brightly colored birds. She helped the beautiful deer give birth to her fawns. The sun set off in the distance. As she watched, she fed the newborn fawn, and the sun had suddenly disappeared. She heard the calling of her mother's voice. She quickly kissed the animals goodbye and said, "I will be back tomorrow." And she ran back to her house. She felt the warm fire before she walked into the house. Her bed seemed more comfortable than ever. She knew she had a great day, knowing that tomorrow will be even better, and these animals will forever be a part of her.
Could I just have all Sequest students up for a picture? Olivia, Julia, come on up. You were part of the anthology. You belong to be here. Is there anyone else? Thank you.
There you go. Again? Beautiful. Congratulations.
Mrs. Rubin?
Good evening, everyone. Charlotte DeSabone is a 5th grade student at the Idle Elementary School, and she's really a special student at Idle. She's a model citizen. She was presented with the Suffolk County Interfaith Anti-Bias Task Force Award for exemplifying dignity for all students at the Suffolk County Interfaith Anti-Bias Task Force at their 15th annual spring convocation. It was held last Thursday morning. It was a breakfast meeting. Charlotte is a peer mediator. She is a member of student government. Many students, I don't think she knows this, but refers to her as the peacemaker. When there's something going on with the 5th grade girls, they'll always say, well, Charlotte tried to get us to think that way. She's our peacemaker. She does wonderful work. She wrote some skits to go into the younger grades to work on empathy. We're very, very proud of you, Charlotte. Come on up. I think we're going to hear Charlotte's name quite a lot in Connetquot. In fact, this morning she told me she had some good news. You want to share it?
I entered a poetry contest in Newsday about gardening, and I just found out I made it to the finals, and they are going to publish my poem in Newsday, and when they publish it with 3 others, I will find out if I won or not.
Congratulations.
There you go. Congratulations. There you go. 1, 2, again. Great. Thanks.
Thank you.
ask my two track and field girls coaches to come on up because we have some celebrating to do for our girls track and field. Come on up, coaches. So you have a very special team, and I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit and brag a little bit about the season and the wonderful girls that are standing here in front of you.
I'm Jim Crowley. I'm the head girls track coach. This is my 36th year here. This is Mike Austin, my assistant coach. This year's team was undefeated League Two champions. We were also second place in Suffolk County. And the girls up here represent most of our all-league, all-county, and 3 of the girls went to the States, and 7 of the girls are going to the national championships this weekend in North Carolina. Let me start with the 9th graders. We have 3 9th graders at the end. I can't see them all, but Emily Call, Brianna Holguin, and Allie Hardy. Just going in order, I see Nikki Otto, Brianna Padula, Sydney Alvarado. Wave, Sydney. Here we go. Sam Smith, Christina Lineski, Ali Passanante. I'm going to go with Michaela Kovalovich, and then Maddie Kovalovich. Although they're not all here, at the Nationals, we're going to have Sam Smith. She's going to throw the hammer. She's ranked 4th in New York State in the hammer. She just came back from the States in the discus, and she has a scholarship to Georgian Court in New Jersey. The Nationals relay team, they're running an 800 medley relay. 2 girls will run the 100. That would be Maddie Kovalovich and Ali Passanante, followed in the 200 by Sydney Alvarado, and the 400 will be Brianna Padula. Not here right now. Kelly Ioka is going to run the steeplechase at the Nationals. She just competed at the States this weekend, came in 7th. And Jenna Phillips is throwing the shot put at the Nationals. At the States this past weekend, she came in 5th place in New York State in the shot put.
Thank you so much, girls. I got a chance to watch your very last, well, you actually qualified that day, but you had one more meet. And you did such a beautiful job. And the most impressive thing was how you cheered each other on. Because really, it's all about pushing each other to be better, and you do that every day, and you did it in such a nice way to each other. It was just really wonderful to see your sportsmanship and how you helped each other succeed. So good luck in the Nationals. We're rooting for you.
She's been training.
So, it is a privilege to speak on behalf of Mr. John Pope. To his students, he might be Mr. Pope, but to the rest of us, he's just Pope. So, both Oakdale Bohemian Middle School and Ronkonkoma Middle School are fortunate to have him as a teacher of technology and MST. He also coaches 7th and 8th grade football over at Ronkonkoma, and just knowing him and how he is with kids, he must be a phenomenal coach. Pope is an old soul with a young mind and a passionate heart for teaching and learning. He is simply a natural in the classroom with a positive presence in both middle schools. He has insight so early in his career to recognize when students need assistance, when they need modeling, or when they just need a guide on the side. He encourages and empowers them to figure things out on their own and persevere through challenges. We had our award ceremony a couple weeks ago, and Pope was presenting his award, and during his speech, he captivated the audience with just this passionate plea for kids to use their hands to make things, to go outside and build things. And the audience, mostly parents and grandparents, just erupted with cheers and applause because what he was saying was real and right and refreshing to hear. So I have many examples demonstrating Pope's enthusiasm for what he does every day for the children of Connetquot. And Ms. Losing is here to share more reasons why this tenure recommendation comes with such conviction.
And I'm here to describe not only what John does in the middle schools, but John is also our high school robotics coach. And he took over in that role 2 years ago. And in his first year, the students won the Long Island Regional and went on to the finals in St. Louis. This year they came in third. And it really doesn't matter as much to John where they come from. It matters that these kids had an opportunity to manufacture a robot, to fabricate it, to code, and to really learn how to do it with adult guidance, but not an adult doing it for them. John really embodies hands-on, minds-on learning. And so, Mrs. Adams, it is our pleasure to present to you Jonathan Pope as a candidate for tenure in the Connetquot schools.
Thank you, ladies. Perfect. Mr. Delio, would you come up to the mic, please?
Good evening, everyone. Esteemed members of the board and CO, ladies and gentlemen, Denise. I'm here tonight to talk about Dr. Kristen Hamill. She is a school psychologist at Slocum Elementary School. And, I was thinking about her the other day. I was writing the speech, and I said to myself, I often wonder what Dr. Hamill was like when she went to school. I always tell her as we're talking that she probably was a kid, and you've heard this before, that was in the back of the classroom reminding the teacher that she forgot to assign homework that night. And usually during that conversation, she always very quickly but very gently reminds me of how lucky that I am to have her in the building. And that I will agree with. We are here tonight to show our appreciation to Dr. Hamill for her dedication and work as a school psychologist. I know that sounds like a retirement speech, but part of this is showing our appreciation for how hard you work. Since the 11-12 school year, she's established herself as a hardworking, highly intelligent, organized, and trustworthy psychologist who is frequently called upon by not only people in the building for assistance, but also by her colleagues across the district. Over the past 5 years, Dr. Hamill has consistently gone above and beyond her required responsibilities. She's worked closely with students, parents, colleagues, and administrators with whatever that they needed. When other buildings need help with any situation, whether it was testing or counseling or sitting as a chairperson, Dr. Hamill not only was willing to volunteer, but she also ensured that all state regulations and rules were always followed closely, while simultaneously making every person feel welcome and valued at the table, even when they weren't familiar with who she was because she was in another building. Dr. Hamill can also be counted on to hold herself to the highest standards of honesty, integrity, and confidentiality. She will always advocate for kids and families. She always cares about their lives in and outside of school. She cares about their problems and their futures. She cares that each of them lives up to the best of his or her potential, and I've seen that time and time again over the past 5 years. If you ask me in passing, I'll tell you not only how much she cares, but also how hard she works behind the scenes. She sticks by her convictions and works for the good of her students when there is no one around to see it. She will always advocate for her students' best interests, even when it means going up against a seemingly impervious wall. I've seen her fight for her kids when no one, not even the students or her parents, were aware of what she was doing behind the scenes. So in closing, it's obvious that Dr. Hamill loves her work, she loves what she does, and she loves each and every one of her students. And it is an honor tonight to present her as a candidate for tenure.
Okay, I am going to ask, let's see. Representative for Kristen Fantry. Do I have two coming up? Nope, just one. Mr. Frank, please come on up.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to introduce Ms. Kristen Fantry, a well-respected member of the Business Department. Ms. Fantry has, I was fortunate enough, this is my first year at Connetquot, and Ms. Fantry has been, certainly has assisted and helped me along in my way. She's an active member of the school and community. For example, she has spent a considerable amount of time this year developing a new college course for the Business Department, social media marketing, which I'm proud to say we'll be offering next year. And she continues to develop and work hard on the course. Besides her work in the classroom, Kristen's involved in several organizations. She has been a great assistance with the Business Advisory Council, and I thank her for that, and also generating involvement with the Citibank Student Internship Program. She is the 2017 class advisor, which is no small feat, especially when they become seniors, with all the responsibilities that come along with it. This includes organizing fundraisers, events, participating in pep rallies, and all the other things that go along with being a class advisor. Ms. Fantry is diligent, hardworking, innovative, and I am on a regular basis impressed by who she is, the amount of work she gives and provides to her students, to the district. Overall, she is a fantastic person, and I am proud that she is actually part of the business department. So, Ms. Adams, please let me present Ms. Kristen Fantry as a candidate for tenure in Connetquot schools.
Mr. Robert Chiseo, can you please come up to the mic?
Stephanie Pachaki, you available tonight? Can you come down? There you are. I'd like to introduce Stephanie Pachaki. She has a smile and she's worried she's going to get roasted. Stephanie Pachaki is a reflective individual who's always striving to improve in everything she does. She is constantly available for her students and takes great pride in her accomplishments with Connetquot. To call her hardworking would be a gross understatement. She's a positive individual who always takes on the most challenging assignments. For example, this year she taught Algebra 1 as well as the new Common Core Algebra 2 honors class. And for those of you who know about the Common Core Algebra 2 class, that's probably the most challenging assignment that I could give her. Outside the classroom, Stephanie coaches track at OBMS. She's dedicated to the Connetquot community as an integral part of the community as well as the department. Stephanie is joined tonight by her husband Rob, and I'm sure he is extremely proud of her. Ms. Adams, I present to you Stephanie Pachaki as a candidate for tenure in the Connetquot schools.
Miss White, last but not least, come on down.
Good evening. Miss Cangelleri, she said to me she always gets really red, so she's very shy. Yeah. So she's embarrassed. Miss Emily Cangelleri is the second grade self-contained teacher at John Pearl Elementary School. She's been a wonderful addition to John Pearl, and she's always smiling and very, very happy. She's very dedicated to her profession, and she designs her instructional program to meet the needs of the kids, academic, social, emotional, every day. She and her students always demonstrate kindness. Her class is one of the kindest students in the school, so not only is Ms. Cangelleri a role model for the teachers, but her students are also role models for the other students in the class. So she's just unbelievably kind educator, and I know her journey is going to be wonderful, and she'll be a dedicated teacher. She's also become a friend as well. Parents also appreciate her home and school connection, as well as the family-like atmosphere that she has established in her classroom. For these reasons, Mrs. Adams, please let me present Miss Emily Cangelleri to you as a candidate for teacher in the Connetquot Public Schools.
Connetquot Board of Education, I enthusiastically present Kristen Hamill, Emily Cangelleri, Kristen Fantry, Stephanie Plachaki, and Jonathan Pope for tenure in the Connetquot School District. You need to vote.
So I need a motion and a second to approve the tenures that were presented to us tonight.
Motion, second.
All in favor?
Yes.
officially call this the Passing the Torch meeting, because right now I would like to honor some of our retirees. So I'm going to ask that Miss Deirdre Kerwin, are you here? Did you get here? She's all decked out.
They were. Yes, they are. You just have to.
So all my newly tenured teachers, these are people that you want to emulate because they have given their life's work to the betterment of our students and to the betterment of our staff and faculty as well. Just by being here every day and doing the things that they love to do. And I have a proclamation for each of them, and each one is very different, so give a listen. Whereas Deirdre Kerwin is being celebrated for her retirement from the teaching profession on June 30th, 2016. And whereas Deirdre Kerwin has faithfully served the Connetquot Central School District in her role as health and physical education teacher for 33 years. And whereas Deirdre Kerwin has taught the practices and principles of physical education to thousands of middle school and high school students. And whereas Deirdre Kerwin has enriched the lives of thousands of middle school and high school students by providing them with the joys and benefits of leading a healthy physical life while teaching good sportsmanship and lifelong lessons in physical and health education. And whereas Deirdre Kerwin has served tirelessly in the total school program, coaching athletic teams at both the middle school and the high school levels, serving as the middle school athletic coordinator, and made major contributions as an advisor to numerous clubs, activities, and school-wide events. Therefore, on this 14th day of June in the year 2016, the Superintendent of Schools and the Board of Education of the Connetquot Central School District of Islip commends Deirdre Kerwin on her outstanding service to the Connetquot community and wishes her a full and rewarding retirement. Miss Rieger could make it tonight.
I can accept it for her.
You're going to accept it for her?
I would love to.
Are you going to read it for her, or am I going to read it?
I can read it.
You're going to read it? Okay.
Absolutely.
I found the typo. I know.
Good evening, everyone. Again, we are here tonight to celebrate the retirement of Mrs. Ro Rieger. She's a kindergarten teacher at Slocum Elementary School and absolutely one of the most amazing people I've ever met in my life. If you know me very well, I do not like to use the word amazing. However, she is the one person in my life that I will definitely say is an amazing person, and she's taught me a lot about people and goodness and kindness. So, with that being said, whereas Rosemary Rieger is being celebrated for her retirement from the teaching profession on June 30th, 2016, and whereas Rosemary Rieger's importance to education and the Slocum community cannot be expressed merely with words, and whereas Rosemary Rieger is an irreplaceable kindergarten teacher who flawlessly maintained the elusive balance between sweet and nurturing while instilling lifelong strong work habits in her students. And whereas Rosemary Rieger is and always will be a magnanimous and selfless person whose goodness will resonate in the hearts and lives of her students and her families as well as her peers. And whereas Rosemary Rieger is a legend. Therefore, on this 14th day of June in the year 2016, we commend Rosemary Rieger for her outstanding service to the Connetquot community and Slocum, and we wish her a full and rewarding retirement. Thank you, everyone.
Mr. Charles Trupia, will you please come down?
We've met quite a lot at board meetings lately. I'm not sure I'm going to let you retire either. Take that back. Rescind his retirement. Whereas Charles Trupia is being celebrated upon his retirement from the teaching profession on June 30th, 2016. And whereas Charles Trupia's contribution to Connetquot High School and the Connetquot Central School District were founded in the spirit of collaboration and mentorship among his students, colleagues, administration, and the Connetquot community. And whereas Charles Trupia is an exceptional social studies teacher who inspired students to become active participants in our democratic system through his accessible explanations of complex political processes. And whereas Charles Trupia is an inspiration and example to his colleagues and his students alike. And whereas Charles Trupia is a legend. Therefore, on this 14th day of June in the year 2016, the Superintendent of Schools and the Board of Education of the Connetquot Central School District of Islip commend Charles Trupia for his outstanding service to the Connetquot community and wishes him a full and rewarding retirement. I'm not sure if Jean Williams is here. Did she make it? Okay, I'm going to read it anyway. Whereas Jean Williams is being celebrated for her retirement from the teaching profession on June 30th, 2016, and whereas Jean Williams' importance to education and the Connetquot community cannot be expressed merely with words, and whereas Jean Williams is an irreplaceable art teacher who maintained the balance between kind and nurturing while instilling lifelong work habits in her students, and whereas Jean Williams is a graduate of Connetquot High School, class of, I don't know if I should say that, 1978, and began teaching at Connetquot High School in 1987. And whereas Jean Williams has selflessly dedicated nearly 30 years as an educator at Connetquot High School. Therefore, on this 14th day of June in the year 2016, the Superintendent of Schools and the Board of Education of the Connetquot Central School District of Islip commends Jean Williams for her outstanding service to the Connetquot community and wishes her a full and rewarding retirement. All right, we have one last retiree, Deborah Galante. Whereas Deborah Galante is being celebrated for her retirement from the teaching profession on June 30th, 2016, and whereas Deborah Galante's importance to the Connetquot community is immeasurable, with the number of students and teachers' lives she has touched, molded, and influenced, and whereas Deborah Galante is irreplaceable as our district mentor and teacher center coordinator, she gives of herself tirelessly for the betterment of all teachers. She is nurturing, caring, supportive, and most importantly, a friend to all. This lifelong learner has dedicated herself to Connetquot for over 22 years. And whereas Deborah Galante is and always will be a selfless person whose sole purpose is to better the lives of those she mentors, and whereas Deborah Galante is a one-of-a-kind, quiet hero within the halls of the Connetquot schools who will truly be missed. Now, therefore, on this 14th day of June in the year 2016, the Superintendent of Schools and the Board of Education of the Connetquot Central School District of Islip commends Deborah Galante for her outstanding service to the Connetquot community and wishes her a full and rewarding retirement. And now I'd like to ask the Board of Education if they would suspend the meeting so that we can actually go celebrate our tenure appointments and our retirees.
I would like to ask Mr. Felicio if he'd like to come up and take a picture with his retired teachers.
So, it's okay, we're going to vote to suspend the meeting?
those things back on. It wouldn't be you without her. Come on. I worked with her for years. You know, she graduated. There you go. All right, now you can take it. Yeah, no. Do it again. Here we go. And again. Okay, great. I have to come back? Yeah. Okay, 1, 2. Put the slide down. Here we go. Okay, good. Great. Very good. Congratulations.
Bring on over the tenures. We're going to do a passing the torch. So these are our passing the torch. Okay.
Okay, you want the name too then? Let's you guys get on. You guys go ahead. Get closer together. Okay. Charlie. All right, we're going to stitch. You know what that means? 1, 2, double. Turn it on. Then, we're very happy. The Tyree should look really happy.
All right, refreshments.
Please join us up in the back for refreshments during our break. They can't hear me? That's true. I'm going to ask everyone in the audience if you would just take a seat very quickly because I have one more proclamation that I need to read, and then I promise I'll let you leave.
Hey, Claudette.
Hey, Mr. Costa, you probably want to...
honor one of the retirees that was able to make it. If we can take our seats, please. I don't think they can quite hear you. That's not loud.
You know why? Because it's from here and not from the mic system.
It's not loud.
Next year, we'll make it louder.
What about putting the speaker on stage?
I think I'm kind of hooked. I'm all hooked together.
So I'm going to call Miss Deborah Galante up to the stage, please. Come on up. So thank you for sneaking out of your retirement party and coming and joining us. So this is a proclamation celebrating the retirement of Deborah Galante. Whereas Deborah Galante is being celebrated for her retirement from the teaching profession on June 30th, 2016. And whereas Deborah Galante's importance to the Connetquot community is immeasurable with the number of student and teacher lives she has touched, molded, and influenced. And whereas Deborah Galante is irreplaceable as our district mentor and teacher center coordinator. She gives of herself tirelessly for the betterment of all teachers. She is nurturing, caring, supportive, and most importantly, a friend to all. This lifelong learner has dedicated herself to Connetquot for over 22 years. And whereas Deborah Galante is and always will be a selfless person whose sole purpose is to better the lives of those she mentors. And whereas Deborah Galante is one of a kind, a
quiet hero within the halls of the Connetquot schools, who will truly be missed. Now, therefore, on this 14th day of June in the year 2016, the Superintendent of Schools and the Board of Education of the Connetquot Central School District of Islip commends Deborah Galante for her outstanding service to the Connetquot community and wishes her a full and rewarding retirement.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, so we're reconvening to public hearing.
Already suspended the meeting, now you're gonna read public. Motion.
All right, so we'll take a motion in a second. Second, all in favor? Okay, now we're going to public hearing on policy 5300, code of conduct. Were you active in this? And Lee? Okay, would you guys like to speak a little bit on any changes that were done to the code of conduct?
Which most of them are language issues, some words that were changed to represent current 2016 verbiage. Nothing significant. I remember that was no major changes. Correct?
The only thing that was beefed up a little bit were the visitors policy to ensure that visitors would become part of our code of conduct. So that was actually beefed up a little bit, but that was really the only change of any substance.
What do you mean by visitors?
People who come to the school as spectators, people who come to the school as people who are going to give us consultants, and parents who are here on all different kind of business. So anyone who's not a faculty, staff, or student would be considered a visitor.
Okay, and why would that, are we addressing that in the code of conduct? Is it anything specific? Is it mannerisms when you're entering the building?
It's really just that the school is a place of business and of education of students, and that we expect people to behave appropriately when they're here on our grounds.
Okay, so this would go to anything that's in the stadiums, any sporting events?
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is the board of conduct for everybody in the district. It's not just for students. Right. It's the entire board of conduct.
All right, so now we're going to have a public hearing on the, public comment on the policy 5300 with Lee and Nick. Mind answering any questions in regard to that?
If I have an answer, sure.
Okay, does anybody have any questions only in regard to the policy 5300 code of conduct?
I posted them online and Linda Adams answered already, so thank you for that.
Great, thank you.
I do. I did notice I was a part of the,
Can you come to the podium so I can hear you?
so you can hear me? Because I can't hear you. But if you want me to talk to the microphone, I have no problem with that.
Just have to turn it on, Terry. It's off.
The lotto is now 10 million.
Okay, so last year I was on the Code of was it last year or the year before? I was on the Code of Conduct Policy Committee, so I've read through the whole thing. Overall, so I was kind of glad to hear there wasn't that much changes except for verbiage. You know, it is a code of conduct for all parties in the district, students, visitors now, parents, and teachers. A lot of places in there, it references teachers based on their union contract. Is that still the way it is in there?
On their union contract, there's not very many references at all to the CBA in the code of conduct. Any kind of disciplinary action on any one of our employees would be handled by municipal law. Specific to teachers, that would be Code 3028.
Okay.
But the code of conduct is just a broad document that really sets out our expectations of behavior of all different people who come onto the school grounds.
Okay, because it did address the students' dress policy, but not employee dress policy.
That's actually a different policy.
It's in a different policy? That's what I'm referencing. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So I understand last year the code of conduct, or maybe the year prior, it was added on with the e-cigarettes. Does that also include the vapors and the things that they're doing now?
Yes, it's actually against state law to vape in a public building.
That was already in there.
That was
There was no
already in there.
changes to that. That was already.
Yeah, that was already in there.
Yeah, so it's e-cigarettes, and then is e-cigarettes cover the vapors?
It specifically says vaporizing in the language. It was in there already. And there was no change. There was no change.
Great. Okay, any other questions from the board regarding the code of conduct? Okay, we're adjourning the public hearing. I need a motion and a second.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unfortunately, our student government representatives are not here tonight. I would have liked to wish them luck on their college venue. Unfortunately, they're not here, so Ms. Andrea, are you going to send a letter from the board wishing them congratulations and also thanking them for their service on the board? Thank you. Okay, moving over to policy, we have actually a few. We have 5100, attendance, anti-bullying harassment, 5300, code of conduct, 6900, disposal of district inventory, working copy of 5 nutrition, and it is Ms. Sample, policy 8130. Nick or Lee, would you like to speak to any of those that are presented here tonight?
Basically, the school safety plans have changed, everything's the same. Corrected language.
So it's minor, an A to a the, to a thee, to a she, to a they.
Okay, well, there's some language change. Building level emergency response plan and terms. Teams are making changes.
There are significant changes in the state education regulations for the school safety plans and teams. So we made sure that that policy was actually meeting those regulations, which actually begin on July 1. That's something that Don actually brought to our emergency management team, and we'll be having more team meetings next year to make sure that we are following the new regs.
Is that something that can be posted somewhere?
Part of it, honestly, is that it can no longer be posted because they don't want the general public to be able to access our safety documents so that they wouldn't know where our children might be gathering. And so they actually did change a piece of that for that very specific reason. But there are other changes that we just made sure that we're living up to that new regulation.
So you're compliant?
We are compliant, yep.
Bullying will basically stay the same.
Okay. So I'm going to need a motion in a second. I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have, okay, we have 8130, emergency plans document. That is an abolishment. I need a motion in a second. I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have recommended action, personnel matters. Schedule 1, resignations, terminations, leaves of absence. I need a motion in a second.
Motion.
I'll second that. All in favor? Okay, we have appointments, tenure, salary changes. I need a motion in a second.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, is there anything in schedule? Nothing in there. Okay, so we're moving on to financial matters. Should we suspend that until next meeting with Sharon Donnelly, just in case the board has any questions? Should we suspend the,
Only if you have any questions.
okay, does the board have any questions in regards to financial matters? Okay, so do you want to, motion on it today or hold it until we have Sharon here, just in case you have a question? No questions? Okay, so then we're going to take a motion in a second on items 2 through 5. I'll second it. All in favor? Okay, we have items on the consent agenda. Service Agreement Comac, Health Services Agreement Half Howell Hills, Health Services Agreement with West Islip, Health Services Agreement with Smithtown, Riverhead, Mineola, Huntington. We have a school service agreement, Health Service Agreement with Jericho, Plainage, Bay Shore, Central Islip, East Islip, Garden City, Sayville, Village, Syosset, West Islip, Middle Country, Special Education's contract, related services provided contract, related services contract, flow through contracts, bid recommendations, 1357, 1357 for contract 3, 2, 3, and 4, bid recommendations 1514, bid recommendations 1510, RFP award recommendations, and the 2016-17 projected preschool budget. I need a motion and second. If anybody has any questions on the minutes that I listed.
Motion.
I'll second it. Any questions?
The only question I have basically is these bid awards that are going through. This will be for John. Are these for, this is for the bond?
The bid award recommendations are for the 3 prime contracts that we did not authorize a month ago. It's electric, general contracting, and HVAC. What we ended up doing when the first bids came back, they were the amounts came back too great in order to award everything. So what the architect and I did was we broke down to create various alternates so that we have some flexibility as to what could be awarded and when. So we're awarding the base bid and the various alternates that you see in front of you.
Okay, will that work start at all this year?
Absolutely. I'm hopefully going to be doing a kickoff meeting next week with the paving company so that they can start the tennis courts and the paving repairs at Duffield and Boston. Then we'll be addressing the ceilings district-wide. We have about 116 rooms that are going to get new ceilings district-wide. Right on the heels of that, they'll also start doing a lot of masonry work, sidewalks, curbs, and various stuff of that nature. Towards the end of the summer, they'll start getting into each of the individual spaces, classrooms, offices, various spaces within the district to start replacing the actual controls. So the first phase of getting a proper BMS, building management system, online is having controls that are communicating to a common hub. Right now we don't. Right now we have to turn certain units on by hand. We turn them on and off depending on the need, this space included. So by putting controls in the actual units, we'll be able to remote access them and program everything so that we can actually control it remotely and more efficiently as well. Those controls will start going in August and continue right through the heating months. It should not be disruptive at all to any of the buildings. It can be done after hours, anything that's not done over the summer. The one piece of the project that we're not going to be able to truly start is going to be the replacement of unit ventilators. Those are the individual units within the classrooms. The reason why is there's about a 14-week lead time on those units. So we have a couple of hot areas, hot areas that we know are problematic.
Here in high school?
Actually, there's one in the high school. There's one in OBMS. There's one in Connetquot. So we have 6 of them district, 6 or 7 district-wide that we're going to make a priority. We're going to address those before the heating season. We're going to have to nurse through the rest of the units until next summer when we have adequate time to do the rest of it. But that being said, the current equipment that we have is functioning. It made its way through this winter. We're just going to have to nurse it along a little bit further and then tie it into the system next winter when the opportunity presents itself.
So this winter they weren't opening windows because it was so hot in their room, or turning on air conditioners because it was so...
Well, that's... Every room is unique. Every teacher, is unique in respect to how they prefer the climate. Are teachers opening windows? Absolutely. Are there rooms that are hotter than others? No doubt about it. Conversely, there are rooms that are colder than others. That is always going to be the case. We're never going to be able to control and moderate everything completely. But that being said, we should be able to bring everything into a much tighter window so that we have more control over it. And in the long term, as teachers and the heads and chiefs custodians work together, they can actually change the parameters in individual rooms moving forward. still be within certain limitations, but it will definitely give us more control over that. Yep.
Anybody have any further questions for John? No. Any other questions in regard to the consent agenda? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, we're moving on to, there's no consent agenda added. Okay, so Board of Education committees. Anybody like to speak about a committee they said?
Coalition, Ms. Linda, you're going to be talking about that?
I certainly will.
Okay, so I wanted to. Maybe we talk about the steering committee?
Up to you. I can read that.
We can't hear you. Linda says, I don't want to be redundant, Linda will be talking about these, because she runs by Mr. 10.
Okay. We had our final steering committee of the school year. At that committee meeting, we appointed 2 directors for next year, 2 chair people. Dr. Gail Colden and Miss Gail Santo have volunteered to chair that committee next year. We're going to move the steering committee into a slightly different venue because the team that makes up the steering committee has 3 major goals that they want to look at that came out of the graduate profile survey that we sent out to the graduates from classes of 2010 through 2015. And there were about 6 things that the kids basically said we could work on to make sure that they were better prepared leaving the high school. So the committee took those 6 and have whittled that down to 3 that they'd like to investigate next year. They will be inviting all the site-based teams from all the different buildings to send representation to the steering committee, so that way the whole district is looking through the same lens at the same types of things to make our Connetquot graduates better served as they leave the high school. And we believe that's a K through 12 process, so we'll be having a site-based management committee representation on the steering committee from now on. I was lucky enough last night to go attend the CFAC grant presentation. We have some amazing work that was done by our teachers, our psychologists, our social workers who applied for grants through CFAC that gave them a little bit extra leg up on things that they wanted to do for our kids in the schools. And Dr. Gail Colden did an amazing job with that. She's stepping down from that next year. And Tara West, who's a physical education teacher in that building, will be taking over the presidency of that next year. Mrs. Auglis and myself had the opportunity to attend the alternative high school graduation ceremony yesterday, which was really more of a moving up, a nice way to say goodbye to the folks, the kids who came here for the alternative high school. It's actually a BOCES program, but we are lucky enough to run that program in the school right here. Miss Louise Berger is the principal of that. She did an outstanding job with the kids. And there were about 7 or 8 kids from different districts and our own district as well, who needed an alternative setting for one reason or another, and all of them actually are graduating on time, which is a huge benefit to that program. Last but not least, we had a kickoff meeting right here in the high school in the LGI on Monday. Was it Monday? No, Monday of last week. I would say we had about 65 people in attendance, and what was wonderful about it was we had folks from students, parents, teachers, guidance counselors, YFS workers, we had administration, we had business owners, we had grandparents, we had Suffolk County PD was here, Youth Enrichment Services, we had legislators, we had representation from senators' offices. It was a really nice kickoff. Town of Islip Planning was here. I mean, we had a cross-section of all different people who are willing to come together to put together a community coalition to help our community become the best it can be. Mr. Ricarda has stepped up to chair that coalition. He's actually asked me to co-chair with him as we begin the process working together with the schools and the community to first and foremost help spread the anti-drug message and healthy living, and then moving out into other ways to help our community make better decisions. So if you're interested, Ray is looking for help right now in order to name the coalition. So he's looking for some kind of a name that will be catchy and will tell everybody out so far. We have Connetquot Cares, we have Connetquot United, we have a bunch of different names that people are interested in seeing. So if you're interested in putting together a name, you can email me and I can forward it to Mr. Carter. And we're looking forward to having a strong partnership with the schools in the community, because that's the only way to really raise healthy children. So I was very, very pleased. We were absolutely blessed with how many people came out to that meeting.
Thank you. Does any administrators have anything they'd like to offer today?
Just a follow-up. At our last meeting, we had a conversation regarding elementary mathematics. We did have 2 meetings. We had a meeting on June 8th with representatives from some of our elementary schools as well as our building administrators. And we had a follow-up meeting today with a large group of our elementary teachers as well as some of our administrators. And we'll be providing a report to the board within the next couple of days.
A couple of days?
Sorry?
You said a couple of days will hear?
We hope that by Friday, the latest Monday, we'll have some information to you regarding the process, a summary of the events and discussions and feedback from the staff.
Do they know what prepared?
Can't hear you, Lee. Do you know?
We haven't made any. There was no decision made at this point. They're still culling through the information and the feedback from the staff. So as soon as we have that information, we did have 3 different publishers come in to show us some of the different materials.
What was the 3 publishers?
The publishers were Pearson and Harcourt.
And what does Pearson put out?
Pearson puts in Envision. And Harcourt puts out Go Math and Math in Focus.
Who puts out Math in Focus?
I don't know the full name. It's Harcourt.
Mifflin Harcourt.
Mifflin Harcourt.
Same company that produces Go Math.
They merged. So at this point in time, you don't really have a good feel on what direction we're going in, or it's just in the infant stages right now?
We're putting together a summary, and we'll be able to share that with the board by the end of the week.
Okay. Well, actually, I think we're all looking forward to hearing the committee.
Yeah, it was a great meeting. We had some small representation in the beginning. For the first meeting, it's a difficult time of year. The second meeting, we had a larger representation, cross-section of the district. So it was a nice group with great feedback, great opinions. So we're putting that together and we'll be sharing it.
Was there representation from every elementary school there? Okay, great.
No, it was not from every elementary school.
Yes.
I'm just going through it in my head. I think we're missing 1 or 2 elementary schools.
So is there a way that you can reach out to them and just give them a little bit of the minutes of the meeting?
Absolutely, we'll definitely do that.
Monica?
Well, we're excited to say that yesterday the Board of Regents approved a regulation which allows students with IEPs to obtain a local diploma after passing English and math. This is a first step for us, and we're hoping to see additional pathways not only for local diploma but for Regents diploma as well. But we're really happy to see this moving in this direction.
So what does that mean, going back to the way it used to be? Either you were on the Regents track or you were on a non-Regents track?
No, not necessarily. And it's our hope that they'll increase pathways both in Regents tracks as well as local diplomas. This is just a first step.
Okay, any comments from the Board of Education?
I have a question. It's not really.
You need to speak into the mic, please, so I can hear you.
It doesn't work.
Can't hear any of you, really.
Can you hear me?
At times. Yeah, I noticed that the mix at times is on.
Okay. Now, take notes, Lynn, because no one is here. And, I mean no one here that would have the answers. I was hoping Mark Delicate would be here. Because I heard something quite a while ago about Boys of Summer. Boys of Summer, and I wanted to know what it was about. So I asked Linda, I guess you didn't have a chance to get back to me. Then I asked Andrea, and she said it was a group of boys with 2 question is, it's a group of boys at the high school, are they considered the boys of summer?
No.
Okay, because that's what I was told when Andrea had asked somebody and got back to me, so that was really confusing. So this group of boys,
Boys of Summer is actually a league.
right, it was different than what I was told, so, okay, so my question is, there's a group of boys that play basketball in the summertime, right?
Yes.
Okay, and they pay, what, $400 or $500 or whatever they pay, they get school uniforms.
They do.
Yeah.
From our school?
From our school. But there are kids.
No, they get paid. Both my boys play in the Boys of Summer. It's a summer league for travel teams and baseball all across Long Island to
That's what I read.
have an opportunity to play together against kids of a like level of baseball. So I pay my organization that my kids play for is Suffolk County Seawolves. I pay my organization to play on that team, and that team decides whether they want to play in the Boys of Summer, or they want to play in the Brookhaven League, or they want to play in one of a variety of leagues all over Long Island. This year, Suffolk County Seawolves decided to play in the Boys of Summer League. But it's an organization that basically gets teams together and gives them schedules to play against each other. That's what Boys of Summer is.
And they play on different schools' property?
They play all over Long Island.
Do they pay the schools?
I don't know that, because I'm there as a parent. Boys of Summer does play on Connetquot schools. It's under, the application comes in under the Stan Musial League, which is a not-for-profit organization. I don't know who uses the field as a home field, and I don't know if we charge, but I can find out whether we charge for Boys of Summer or not. We don't, okay.
So you don't charge them, you just let them, even though they're not Connetquot kids?
They are Connetquot kids.
No, they're not 60% of Connetquot kids, are they? No.
The team that would use the Connetquot High School fields as a home field would be the Connetquot Travel League that's here.
Right, but there are many teams that play against each other that use it. I looked at the schedule, I looked at all, and there are teams like brown team and a red team, neither one are Connetquot, they play on the fields.
Okay.
So do they pay Connetquot?
They don't pay for that permit. The Boys of Summer, we have never requested the Boys of Summer to pay for that permit.
But they're allowed to play on the property even though it's not our kids playing.
As I said, we've never asked Boys of Summer to pay for the right to play on the fields. If that's something the board wants us to move forward to do.
Well, no. If it's policy, not that I want them to do it or not do it. I was just curious. If it's policy, are we going to suspend the policy for them? Are there other people playing on our property? We don't know. I don't know. I've been doing this for a long time. I have no clue. Are there other teams playing with other teams, lacrosse, soccer, playing on our property, and on the other side, are there kids being hurt or not being able to use our property that do belong to Connetquot? Because that's one of the things that came up to us a while ago. Why can't we use the property? Why can't the girls use the property? Are other big...
I guess what she's trying to say is the Connetquot children take precedence over these outside leagues.
Well, first of all, the kids in our school districts, and any field that they need for the interscholastic competition, they absolutely take precedence. So when they're practicing, when they're playing games, it's our internal teams over everybody else. Then we go to our local organizations.
And as the local organizations use our fields?
CYO,
Oh, we have local organizations, not until our kids are done with our sports.
So every single day, our children are using the grounds and the gym facilities?
Right after school, sure. Our interscholastic program is that large. So I'm not sure, Lee, what exactly do you want me to follow up on so that I know?
Just basically, are there other, not just Boys of Summer, but is there soccer? And are we getting any benefit out of it by letting them use the fields? Because I'm sure they get a fee from everybody. What do they do with that money? Do they pay? different school districts that they're using their, we have to pay to take care of that property. So,
Well, actually, Boys of Summer all summer long takes care of our baseball diamonds.
well, so they're using our property a lot, and that's what they're giving back?
Yeah, they take care of it. They line them, they cut them, they weed them. They actually put the sod down a few years ago. They put the
So
sprinkler system
they
in.
are contributing, but are they paying the school district? That's all I need to know.
Okay.
Not
Find
them. It's
And
not
also-
Boys of Summer. I never heard of Boys of Summer, but everything I read about them, they're pretty positive. But there are other groups out there too.
Sure.
And if they're using the property, what are we getting back? Since it's policy, that they should not be using the property.
So you're saying that our groundskeepers do not take care of the diamonds all summer long?
Yeah, that is most school districts. And during the summer, especially in the baseball world, the baseball diamonds are taken care of, seeded, sodded by the organizations that use them. That's pretty standard, but I will certainly pull the permits for our buildings and grounds and see what organizations are using them that potentially need to pay for that use.
Does any other board member have a question or a comment? Okay, so we're moving over to public comment. Step up to the podium, address the board president only. You may address one or more topics in the time allotted. Individual employees, parents, and or children should not be identified by name, title, position, grade, or building. Yes, Ms. Patty.
So Linda, thank you for answering the questions that I posted in the public document. You know that I appreciate it, and I know many others have contacted me and read through it along with watching the videos, and they too appreciate it. The document is always available online and it's public, and the link can be found on the Facebook site under the Connetquot Community BOE page, and it's also posted on the video page. But a question came up while I was on Facebook today about our school being checked for lead. Something apparently had happened in Comac, and that lead was found. So they want to know if this is something that we have done, and if not, will we? We've also discussed substitutes and pulling Title I teachers for quite some time. The administration had given a presentation, and I asked a question about absenteeism, specifically the percentage, approximately, per day in the high school. And it was about a 20% absenteeism rate. This is quite high. Is this a scheduling issue? I understand that the contract gives teachers time off, although I can't see the contract yet because it's not online in its entirety. But 120 teachers a day can't all be sick. Has the BOE looked into this to find out why? There are a few more follow-up questions online, and if you could take a look at them, I'd appreciate it. But with only 3 minutes, I really want to address some more of the pressing issues. I understand that we use the Regents as a 5th quarter grade, which may be detrimental to our children who may be passing the class but fail the Regents, which could make them fail the entire class. Some children will still pass the class and will be able to take the Regents over. However, this may not be the case for all. We did some research, and many other districts are changing this percentage and making it lower. Some aren't even averaging it in. Has the BOE thought about helping our children with a change in policy like this? The $15,000 that Senator Croce gave us. It was used for freshman awareness and the Leader in Me. My concern now is that the Leader in Me is an expensive, controversial program. What was the total cost of this, and how will we be paying for it in the future? The last meeting, we brought up the modules, and I did speak to Nick about that. And I think the big issue was that they're being used as a primary resource. There was also, I think you just talked about that tonight too as well, correct? So I'm not going to go too much into that. I understand that it's being handled, so I'm happy to hear that. Are there any BOE meetings during July and August? They are not listed on this calendar. I checked last night, actually, and Ed actually told me no names. One of the guys in the audience over there said it's not on the calendar either. Okay. All right, and finally, I'd just like to address a quick subject that the CTA president brought up. I've been reviewing the videotapes, and this one issue struck me as odd. I'm aware that the CTA files grievances, and the president has mentioned this to me during a meeting I had with him in his office quite some time ago with another parent. At that time, these were issues that were safety related,
or things that affect how a teacher did their job, such as copy machines being out of order or classrooms having leaky ceilings. And we all know that these grievances cost time and large amounts of money paid to our attorney, but with merit. I'll say that I have hope that most of these grievances are for good and valid reasons. However, this grievance that he mentioned and read emails about was about an apology. I was a little disgusted that our taxpayer funds are used to fight such a ridiculous grievance.
It's time.
Okay, I'll come back up. We don't have another one?
No, this is
It's not me.
away from it. Walk away.
Should I be going before Mr. Felicio since I'm the president, or no? Doesn't matter.
Good evening. Been a long day. First of all, thank you to the board, Ms. Adams. I think tonight, as far as I can remember, I'll be starting my 36th year come September here. And I think it's the first time that we've actually had teachers, to my recollection, honored at a board meeting for their service. I think that's a great step in the right direction, and I applaud you for that. Thank you. Thank you. It's appreciated. Unfortunately, just so everybody's clear, we did have a retirement party tonight, and when I left at 7:25 or so, people were enjoying themselves. We had the party venue till 8 o'clock, so a few people did not get here, but they will be in work tomorrow. But I would just recommend for next year, we always have our party, usually it's the second Tuesday of June, and if you're going to do the tenure thing, which I know is normally in May, that you go back to doing that in May and maybe do the retirement thing at the May meeting as well, so that we can have more representation here to applaud our colleagues. That would be the only suggestion I would make. I just wanted to also just touch on the committee for math modules. I just wanted to make sure the information is clear. The first meeting, and I think this is something you might want to look into, the message to the teachers and who was chosen and how they were chosen was very disconnected. I know there were one or two teachers were notified the morning of that there was going to be a meeting that day. No one really sure how in every building it's been consistent as to who is being chosen to go to the meeting. There's been a couple of people who've called me and was skeptical as to how that was being done. Seemingly like it seemed like it was a stacked deck at the committee. Again, I'm not there, so I don't know, but it was a concern of a couple of people who were there. I know you mentioned Mifflin, and I think you mentioned one other, Pearson. How could I forget Pearson? But I also wasn't mentioned this evening, at least I didn't hear it. There was also a lot of talk about the Singapore math. I think it's called another name, but it's made by Singapore. And just so everybody's clear, from the math people that were there, explained to me that it is really just a fancier module. It's modules plus pictures. So just be aware of that. I'm sure elementary folks probably be more aware of it than I would be, but that's the word that came back to me, that there seemed to be a push toward going with the Singapore model, but from what I'm hearing, it's really just another version of the modules, just with pretty pictures and a little bit more dressed up with some window dressing. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. I think I heard you correctly. You're not making any decisions tonight. I did send you folks an email the other day. The committee believes whatever you choose, pilot it on a small scale, allow people to use the modified version, what makes the teachers comfortable in the classroom with their kids, and then after evaluating everything, go full out next year with some type of program. So just to be patient, not to rush into anything. Thank you.
Do I need my glasses on? Do I want to see? I have notes. Okay. Not that I'm probably not going to go by my notes. Something you all know the Regents met yesterday. They came up with a small step in the right direction for our special ed kids. They have not determined anything for our gen ed kids who struggle. Of course, more added pathways. According to state regulations, we have how many pathways? According to state? 50, 60, 70? Where are they going to stop? Our graduation requirements are 7 pages. Our pathways, graduation pathways, is 7 pages of possibilities, which could be more depending on what class you take. My point coming up here today, Eileen just touched on it, districts are looking at how they use their region scores and use them in the kids' averages. Right now, our stands is 20%. We are a 5th quarter. We have 5 quarters. So that region's grade, however they do, is counted in the whole year's grade point average. So for example, if you have a kid who maintains a 70, he's passing. He's got a 70. He does terrible on that Regents. He just flunked for the year, even though he passed with 70s. But because of that Regents, now he fails. So now not only does that he or she, that kid fails the Regents, he has to take that again. He has to take the course again in order to get the credit. We have a chance here in Connetquot to be probably one of the first on Long Island to make a very bold change. I would ask that you make it a standalone test. The kids have to take it until state ed figures out that we need a local, pure and simple, straightforward local diploma for everybody. Until they figure that out, we need to do something for our kids. There is absolutely no reason why that region score should count so heavily when it could stand as it could be a standalone grade. They have to take it, okay, fine. I don't like it, but okay, fine. But we don't have to have it weigh so heavily on the kids. And I would also like to kick my luck a little bit and ask you to vote on it. We have a chance to take a stand. We have a chance to be the first of something and do something to make a difference.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Something on Facebook is circulating again about the emergency exit. Just an FYI, the emergency exit, and the fact being that there's only one in and one out. So there was we had spoken a couple of meetings ago, probably 3 months ago, about changing the entrance. What has happened with that?
John, would you like to speak a little to that? I know you're kind of frustrated on that topic.
Sure. I know a few people at the town of Islip through a variety of different means. I've reached out to all of them. Most recently, I reached out to Angie Carpenter directly, and I actually forwarded a copy of that email to the superintendent the other day. To this point, I have not received any feedback at all from anybody at the town of Islip, and without their input, without their agreement to be a partnership, we don't have the ability to do anything outside of the boundaries of the school district. And we would require something on 7th in order to make any of those changes.
And when was the last time you spoke with them?
I haven't spoken with anybody. I've sent multiple emails. I believe it was last Thursday.
Did you speak to someone initially, though?
Well, we had a meeting. I had an individual come from the town of Islip. They were actually here on an unrelated issue, and I asked them while I had them here to follow me to the high school, which they did. We inspected and surveyed the site. We watched a couple cars come in. We took some measurements. We compared it against town of Islip regulations for street widths, and the individual in their capacity said it was absolutely viable possibility to explore it, and he recommended that the superintendent reach out to each of the council, town of Islip council, as well as the commission, as well as the commissioner of planning, Commissioner Owens.
Do you have that person's name?
The individual that I met with? Yes, I do, absolutely.
Can you share that?
It was Peter Kletchka. Peter Kletchka.
So if you were to sell me or approach ACES out of their jurisdiction?
I believe so. I don't know that for a fact, but I believe so.
Could they have any influence in whatever avenue you have to go to get
Anything's possible. My most recent correspondence or my most recent attempt was directly with this town supervisor. I think it would just be courteous to give her, a little bit of time to respond. But next week, we can certainly pursue other local representation and see if they have any kind of influence over those individuals.
Can you spell his last name?
Kletchka, Kletcha.
Did he have time?
Traffic planning, I don't remember his exact title.
Project supervisor.
There you
Project
go.
supervisor for Public Works.
Well, keep us posted, John. Hopefully, we'll get somewhere close soon.
Yep, without a doubt.
That'd be a home run if you can get that going.
Understood.
So there is an exit emergency plan also as well? That was an entrance plan, but an exit plan?
In an emergency?
Yeah. The
Hill Drive.
okay. And the community back there is okay in an emergency, correct?
It really, yeah, in an emergency.
Okay.
Open it up and go.
Okay, because I know they were upset.
Well, they were upset because they thought there'd be a permanent road that would permanently open up that
Right.
opening, and that's nothing that we've ever even discussed.
Okay.
In fact, I recall one of the gentlemen saying, I understand if an emergency situation, by all means, use it, but they don't want this everyday traffic there.
Right. Also, we had talked about containers on the property. What's an update on that? I'm sorry, outside organizations,
Right now,
storage
we
containers.
put a moratorium on any new containers coming in from outside organizations. It puts us in a bind with state ed, and so right now we're in a moratorium. We're not accepting any new donations at this point.
So definition of them being a donation, that stands?
They do usually donate, the board has to accept the donation in order for it to be placed on our.
So Connetquot Central School District owns them and has the liability for them? Am I understanding that properly? And has there been anything looked into rewording that ownership so that Connetquot Central School District is not liable for them, especially since most of them don't have locks? Or self-locking, non-locking? Excuse me?
They can't own them on our property, that's why it had to be a donation.
I think we were talking about renting the space to put this container on.
I'm not sure that would preclude a lawsuit or any kind of other liability issue, just because they've rented that specific spot. I'm not thinking that would, Lisa, am I wrong?
I'm sorry.
I'm not sure that having a donated container on our lot and having it be a rented space to another organization, if something were to happen to someone because of that, would that preclude anyone from being able to sue the district?
Does that preclude anyone? Well, it would depend on what the language in the rental agreement is.
Exactly.
Nothing precludes someone from suing.
Yeah.
Because you have deep pockets, so it would really depend on what the rental agreement says in terms of indemnification and things of that nature.
So even with a certificate of insurance of the container, had the certificate of insurance by the person who placed it there?
You would require something of that nature, but then there's also limited reasons that you can have a person renting space, so, that's something to consider as well. I mean, the district is limited in who it can rent space to, or lease space to, or provide facilities used to.
Where can I find that information?
Education law, section 414.
414?
Yeah.
And have we contacted the donators for updating the containers they donated for security features? So they don't lock from the inside? Or there's an opening? Something about the door.
We have not done that as yet.
Okay.
Because the boards of organizations that actually donate those are long gone. So it normally happens
happens is it gets donated this year, and when the safety regs change 5 years down the road, the board who donated that doesn't even know when it was donated or anything along those lines, and they very often aren't all that amenable to making those changes. But we have not actually.
Because I don't think they'd be opposed to make it safe or move it.
Or take it off, yeah.
I mean, it comes down to a liability and a child's safety.
The question is whether they have the money to or not, because I think,
That's going to be a decision they're going to have to make.
yeah, John's thing that you're talking about significant upgrades.
I know.
Cost. More than likely, most of those containers wouldn't be worth upgrading.
Also, it's my understanding that CYA and Boys Are Summer are two different organizations. They're not the same.
They are.
And with talking about the elementary math, did we fail the elementary math students this year? Is that why we're looking at something new next year? And that concerns me.
I'm not aware that we did fail the children. Dean, can you speak to that?
So why are we changing something that they just got used to, that we rewrote modules for over last summer? The thought process on that?
Looking for something better to enhance the experience at the computer level, the parent level, the information for the students. We're trying to enhance it and make it better.
Well, I'm all for change. I'm an advocate for change, but there's a leap and a step. So it seems like we're getting rid of everything that we have or worked on, paid for, put time into last summer for something new, and now we're up. We don't know what's happening.
My feeling on it.
Instead of just tweaking what we already have, and maybe it's not the best, and it sounds like it could be
I think
improved.
there were certain concerns that were raised from different groups regarding some of the deficiencies that the modules may have. And that's what we're looking for right now, is looking for programs or solutions or resources that are able to meet those needs. So we're not throwing things out. We're still using those resources, but we're seeing if there's resources that are better out there that meet the parents' needs a little bit better, give us some technology enhancements, and also provide some scaffolded supports for our kids.
So it sounds like we have some holes that I think with the educated staff and assistant director that we have for elementary math, wouldn't they be able to fill that hole?
I think until Dean has any, because right now Dean needs to really speak to the board before we go further on this. So at this time, I don't know if we can really answer any questions further until we do speak to the teachers, because they're the ones I want to hear from. If we're going to change anything, I want to hear it from them. I don't want to hear it from
Because it's a
anybody.
pain in the neck to start over again.
So I think.
Every semester I have to do
Not
that.
starting over again, we have done a great job, the dean has done a great job with his staff of, and the teachers have brought in, done a great job of learning and teaching better to what the state requirements are. And we plan on continuing that with possibly a combination of resources, a different resource, and enhancing that with other pieces to make the experience better, both for our students and our teachers.
Well, maybe
Not
even a
throwing
choice
things
of
out.
resources.
Sorry?
Maybe even a choice of resources. I only say that
There has to be
because
some consistency.
I understand, and there has to be consistency. I'm given a textbook, and from there, I'm to teach an agenda, and I'm free to teach that whole thing at the college level. So, I mean, if I can do it, the educated,
Teachers are being included in the process, for sure.
okay. And that's it.
That's it,
Thank
your
you.
time's up. I gave you.
Yeah, I know. I had a lot of questions. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions?
If no one else is going, I'd like another shot up there since we only have 5.
All right, come on up.
Thank you. I'm gonna stand to the side, it seemed too much buzz when they did that. So I was talking about the grievance, and that this one was not about something that's detrimental to teachers or a classroom having leaky ceilings. This one was about, and from the CTA president's mouth himself, was about an apology. So I think that this is a little bit ridiculous, and at the cost to the taxpayers, from someone who's not even a resident, it really upsets me. If you're supposed to be a role model for children, Shouldn't you either agree to disagree and try to work it out without a cost to our district? I feel like this is kindergarten nonsense, and then I feel as if I insulted kindergartners who would have handled this so much better than the adults involved in this. In any case, I hope that we can remember for the next school year that our children have to come first. Our questions for any decision should always be, does this help or hinder children? And go from there. I hope everyone enjoys their summer, and although some of you may not be happy about it, I will see you at the next meeting. I did get another question in from a parent online who was not able to stay here tonight, and they were talking, and I think this is what you guys were talking about before, so stop me if you did. There's no formal math K-5 program, and it won't be introduced until the 17-18 school year.
That's what we were talking about.
Okay, so they heard this at a PTA meeting, so that is not true. There is a formal math program.
Well, I do have to say that the principal who was supposedly quoted in that did not say that at her meeting last night.
Okay, but is there no formal math program?
Of course there is. We're still continuing to teach the modules and teach to the standards. Right now, the committee is looking at gathering a different set of resources to enhance what we're doing. It's exactly what we were talking about.
Okay, so that's what you were talking about.
We're not throwing out
The same parent also brought up, there was and I'll get the website for you, but it's how they rate the schools. And it said for this particular school, Duffield, it was 30% proficiency in reading and math. And so he did a little more research and checked. And again, I'll send you the website and all the things. And it seems like the north side was 40% or lower, but the south side had a 50% or higher. So we wanted to, maybe if you could look into that inequality and see why we're coming up at lower on this side of the tracks.
I'm not sure how they got that number, since we have less than 25% of our kids take the assessments. So it's not even I'm not sure.
Well, I'll send you the website so that you can see it, Linda, okay, but it was just curious to see that the north side was so much lower than the south side. All right, thanks, and I'll see you all at the next meeting. When is that, by the way? You didn't answer that question.
July 12th is the reorganization.
Okay, so the July 12th. Is it usually July 1st? July 12th it will be?
Last year, but
so it'll be July 12th?
July 12th.
Okay, great, thank you.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight. I wish everyone a happy and healthy summer. Why July 12th? I'd like to wish everybody a happy and healthy summer, and we are going to go into exec session. So we're going to take a 5-minute recess and go into exec session.
Motion.
So I need a motion, a second. Motion for the Board of Education to move an exec session in accordance with the Open Meetings Law, 105F, employment history of particular persons confidential. So I need a motion, a second. I'll second that. All in favor? Good night, everyone. Get home safe.